Welcome to UNAM Chicago's Cafe Espresso, a space for bilateral conversations with people from all walks of life. Tune in to Spanish Public Radio and follow us on social media. And now your host, Alberto Fonserrada.
Welcome everyone to Cafe Espresso. Happy that everybody's able to join us. Today we have a very special guest. We've got Helen Marie Corcoran, who's the president of the board of the Festival de Música de Cámara de San Miguel de Allende. Hello, Helen Marie. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Happy to be with you.
Well, I was going through the website, which is pretty amazing, and the history of the festival is it's just beautiful. I mean, there's so many stories, there's so many characters. I was reading about this Mr. Tom Sawyer, who met another Canadian, and then they started to get meeting more people. There was some British connection, some Chicago connection. And then it became a festival. And but I would like to learn about you, about your personal story, how you got involved in it, and if you could please share with our audience.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you how I got to San Miguel. I mean, it was really just 6 years ago. This is a long festival history, 43 years, but my involvement's only been 6 years. And I was living in Washington, D.C., and all of a sudden, from 2 or 3 different places in my life, people who were completely unconnected, I hear the name of this town, San Miguel de Allende. So I thought, well, perhaps this is someone, the universe speaking to me. You know, perhaps I better check out San Miguel de Allende. So I did go down for a writers' conference in February, and which is a very famous event that's held every year in San Miguel. And then I came back for 2 months in August. And when I was there in August, there's a beautiful theater on La Peralta, and I went to the box office and bought tickets. I was only able to get tickets for the very highest balconies and went in, and here were some of the most famous musicians in the world playing in this small town in the middle of Mexico. These people you would see in Lincoln Center or in Wigmore Hall in London or the Berlin Philharmonic, you know, were playing right there in San Miguel de Allende. So I thought, well, I didn't go home after 2 months. I stayed, and now I'm the president of the festival.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you've been president of the festival for 6 years, I understand, right?
I've been president of the festival for about 4 years, but I really did not think I would get involved. I came there because I'd had a very busy life up until that point, and I thought, oh, I'm going to this Mexican town and enjoy the color and the music and the flowers and do a little painting or a little writing, but once I became aware of this festival and I realized what a treasure it was, I knew that there were a few skills that I developed over the years that I might be able to contribute.
Now, is there any background on your, like a musical background on your life?
For me, you know, in my family, music was part of our education, you know, so I studied piano and I would have loved to have been a musician. I mean, even as a little girl, I chose Saint Cecilia as my confirmation name because she's the patron of music, but I'm not a musician. I read music, I play for my own pleasure, but I've been a consistent patron of the arts, someone who bought season tickets and supported various organizations, you know, and been on boards of several organizations, you know, in the past. That was my background.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, the work you do for this is amazing. And I was going through when I was going through the website, also the posters, the publicity it's just beautiful. How did that come about? You know, it's just works of art.
Absolutely. San Miguel is indeed an arts center, and people began coming there, expats began coming there after World War II and using the GI Bill. There were 2 very famous art schools there. You know, they had a lot of the Mexican muralists worked in the town. So there were, you know, it's a real tradition of art there. So basically our festival has always commissioned a well-known artist to do our posters. So we have some beautiful posters. Many famous artists have done our posters over the years. And if you read those posters, you'll see listed on them the names of some of the greats of chamber music all through those years. So we're very proud of the whole thing.
That's great. And the festival usually takes place in the summer, right? It's the
We
summer
do it
thing.
in August, and one of the reasons for that is that the normal symphony seasons, around the world start in September and go through the spring. So we have a shot at some really fine musicians at what would be their normal off season, where we're not competing with the great symphonies, of the world. But so ours is an August festival. Yeah,
Got
and
it.
next year we're the 12th through the 29th of August.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Hopefully everybody's vaccinated and everybody's out there, and we'll have
right.
in-person things.
We were very disappointed in 2020. We had a wonderful season scheduled, and of course we had to cancel it. And we did some virtual things through the years, and we've really concentrated on our music education. But we've been contracting. We have a full season contracted for 2021, and all of us we're moving forward as if it's going to happen, and everyone, the artists and everyone, recognizing that at some point, if it's not safe for people to come, then we'll do it virtually.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's a new reality, and we have to cope with that.
Absolutely. But
That's
of
why
course,
we're here.
of course, we're all so fortunate with the wonderful technology now in music. We can hear digitally the most wonderful music in the world, and we're making do with recorded concerts and this kind of thing. But I think you'll agree that there's nothing quite like the magic of live performance, and being in that hall, no matter what your genre is, and sometimes there's just a moment of magic that happens between the musicians and the audience where it can transform people's lives. So we're ready to get back to that. That's what we're interested in.
Oh, absolutely. You got a great point there. I mean, we here in UNAM Chicago, I have a little auditorium which seats about 70 people, and it's beautiful. Really, we really miss it. But on the other hand, going through these new technologies, we have these programs, for example, Ventana Sonora, which showcases different composers and artists on every second Friday of the month, every 2 weeks, and well, we reach an audience that it's enormous. I mean, we have an amazing. We have people listening to our concerts from South Africa or China, right? So
Absolutely.
we're expanding, but like you said, the feeling of having something live, well, that's different.
Well, we were very pleased in October to actually work with UNAM and Pan American University to sponsor a very special event. First, we had a beautiful documentary about the Dover Quartet, which is a very wonderful young quartet in the States, and then a recorded concert 2 days later, and then a 45-minute live conversation with the sponsors and the quartet, that went over a Facebook Live. And thousands of people all through Mexico and in the States and other places, were able to watch this. Of course, I'm limited to a concert hall of 430 seats, so it was wonderful to reach these thousands of people. So I don't know about you, but I think we're going to keep the best of both worlds. We're going to continue doing the things that work virtually. The other thing that has worked so well for us is we've made a collaboration with the Curtis Institute, which is one of the finest music schools in the world out of Philadelphia. And we now, through the festival, sponsor master classes each month with one of their faculty members or one of their recent graduates who are out as noted professional musicians. And students all through Mexico are able to, we pick, the universities will pick a couple of students whose work will be examined, and that will be worked with individually. But then hundreds of other students are able to tune into this and watch the highest quality instruction. The other thing is that we're very pleased we're able to expose these institutions to the very fine young Mexican musicians. And right now, because of a cello week we had a couple of years ago, we have a young woman, Natalia Vilches, who's at the Peabody Institute in Baltimore working on her master's program as a result of being exposed to it through our Festival Education Week.
Wow, that's wonderful. You really do a lot of things.
Yeah, I think it's a very important path. I think that, so let's keep all these things where we can make broader connections for people, as long as we keep the quality high. I mean, you've got to keep the quality high,
Exactly.
Yeah. And so let's use those things in a way that will benefit everyone. But then, I'm hoping to get back to the live performance as soon as we can.
Oh yes, we miss that. But yeah, like you said, there's no turning back. I mean, we have to take the best of both worlds. But part of the reason of this program that I started at Cafe Express is to learn about what's behind all these things, all these stories, all these festivals, the personal stories. I want to learn more about Helen Marie. What's the
Okay.
Chicago connection? Were you born in Chicago?
I was born in Oak Park,
Park.
Hospital, western suburbs of Chicago. Both of my parents grew up on the west side of Chicago, western suburbs of Chicago. I lived in Westchester, which was the end of the world when I lived there. I don't know if you know the Westchester story, but there was a very famous man by the name of Sam Insel, who set out this English village, and all the streets were in, and the elm trees and the lights and all of this kind of thing. And then he crashed in the Depression. And so here was this place with 6, 8, 10 houses in it and all the infrastructure. So that's where I grew up. And then I went to high school in River Forest at Trinity High School. I went to a school in South Bend, Indiana, St. Mary's College at the University of Notre Dame, and met my husband there, who was also an Illinoisan. And then we married, and I had 5 children before I was 30. So that's the first part of my story.
Yes, and I also know that there is a Washington connection. Actually, you're in Washington, D.C. right now, right?
I am. I'm in Washington, D.C. right now. Yes, I've spent most of my adulthood in Washington, D.C. before moving to San Miguel. My husband was elected at a very early age as a congressman from what was then the 14th district of Illinois. I'm not going to get into politics, but I happened to look up the other day some of the maps and the gerrymandering. You know that story. It's been, I think the 14th district has been many other things over the years between the time that he represented it, but it's something to see those maps the way they're drawn these days. But at any rate, so we came to Washington, and he served for 8 years as a congressman, and then ran successfully for the Senate, but stayed here in a variety of roles. And then I became a financial planner, one of the early generation financial planners, and had a company that worked with corporate executives, and did that for most of my adult life. Yeah.
How old are your kids? Are the kids around, or?
Yeah, well, I have, as I said, I had 5 children before I was 30. So indeed, all of my children are older than I am now, Alberto.
Good one.
So yeah, I have 2 in Arizona right now. That's a relatively new thing, and then the others are in the Washington area. And of course, I have 8 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.
Oh, that's great.
So I mean, that is one of the disadvantages of living in Mexico, is I'm not as close to family as I might be. I'm here now because of the pandemic, and we really wanted to be close. We just didn't know how long or how this was all going to work out, and so we just decided to be a little bit closer. Although we're quite isolated, we're all being very good about the whole thing. But yeah, so I'll probably be here for a few more months until things get a little bit better in Mexico.
Right. Well, Washington, D.C. is a nice town. I lived a couple of times in Washington, D.C. when I was a kid with my dad, who was working for the World Bank. And then I was a diplomat, and I had the privilege of working at the Mexican embassy. So I love D.C. And the scenes that I see on TV these days with 25,000 troops there, it was kind of like a scary moment. It was different. It was just like, okay, what's going on, right?
But have you ever seen any fireworks like they had the other night?
Never a display like that one. Never. I remember having Memorial Days and things like, and actually watching it from the Kennedy Center, the rooftop, which is a beautiful place. But never. I was like, okay, Mr. Biden, this is gonna probably affect the climate change, with all these things. I don't know.
Well, of course, living in San Miguel de Allende, It is not an exaggeration to say that we have fireworks 320 of the 365 days.
Fireworks and stray dogs, right?
This is something that one has to get used to because, I guess, harking back to indigenous practices and whatever, they're very often fireworks set off early in the day to honor either a birth or a death or a saint's day or whatever. So I think we're counting, it's probably 320 of 365 days. They're fireworks of some sort.
I know we like our fireworks. I don't, but I don't know. They're there.
Yeah.
So, what is a regular day in the life of Helen Marie when she's in San Miguel? Do you go to the La Plaza? Do you eat esquites? Do you? Is there any particular food that you like, or what is it that draws you to?
Well, I'm going to sound like the tourist bureau or the Chamber of Commerce of San Miguel de Allende, but this truly is a beautiful, beautiful town. You know, it's in the middle of Mexico, Corazón de Mexico, and it's high desert, and so the climate is beautiful and the sun shines. And I live right in Centro, so I am able to walk everywhere. And I have to tell you that the walking daily and actually doing your daily life by walking is just a wonderful thing to do. So as a person who really all my life has been tied to the automobile in the way I've lived, you know, this is really, it's had a major change on my life and my health and everything, you know. So I actually live right, as I say, right in Centro. And so, and I'm very near the artisan market in San Miguel. This is one of the great treasures of San Miguel. It goes for about 5 city blocks through the middle of town. And it, you know, everything in the world that you'd want to buy, many of them handcrafted, but then flower markets and fruits and vegetables and, you know, all of that. So one of my great pleasures is to wander over to the market, you know, and go to my little tienda and I'll say dos aguacates and he'll say hoy o mañana, señora. I'll say hoy y mañana. So just walking down the street and doing the daily thing. I have to say it's a very culturally stimulating town as well. So there's so many things to choose from. Every day, whether it be music or lectures or film or theater or whatever it might be, you just, and of course, this is extremely enjoyable to me. There's also a wonderful botanical garden outside of town, so I hike and, you know, do all of that sort of thing, enjoy the birds and you know, there's I have to say I do enjoy eating out in the good restaurants and meeting my friends and lots of good coffee, you know.
Oh yes, you're making me a little bit jealous now. I'm having my espresso here, by the way.
There you go. Yeah. No,
but yes, it's a beautiful town. As you know, my sister lives there. We talked about it, and
yes,
I think she took the best decision of her life because I love going there. She's very happy there, although she has to commute to Querétaro. But because she's also a musician and she plays at the Orquesta Sinfónica there, but it's totally worth it. And I think also, and I have many friends from Canada and from the US who are buying property actually these days.
Well, so there are a number of expats living there from the United States, from Canada. There are a lot of Europeans there, you know, and of course we have a lot of tourists who come. And I would say in the last 3 or 4 years, we have had really an explosion of Mexican tourists coming to town. San Miguel has been listed on any number of these travel magazines and Condé Nast, right, and, you know, all of these as one of the most beautiful city in the world. And I think a lot of Mexicans say, well, why aren't we going? You know, so I've noticed a real explosion of the Mexican tourists. And of course, the other thing that's quite beautiful in San Miguel is that they have kept a lot of the old traditions. Mm-hmm. So we have, you know, around Independence Day, around the feast day of St. Michael, around Easter, we have some really, really beautiful very reverent, very beautiful processions and things that celebrate things in an old way. So people whose family are in larger cities or whatever, they like to bring their families back so that they can see this older way of celebrating things. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're approaching the closing time, I think. But what are your plans for the future? What do you have? What's the next year looking for Festival and for you in particular?
So basically, we already have everyone contracted for
Okay.
2021. So we've got a full schedule, and we have some extraordinary things that we're doing. For example, we're bringing two quartets down at the same time, so we're going to be playing octets, and
Wow.
one doesn't get a chance to hear octets very often. So we're very fortunate, and we've got string quartets and piano trios and people from Mexico, Asian, a full schedule, for that festival. We're really excited about these ongoing master classes with Curtis. We're continuing to do that every month. In fact, with it Tuesday, we're having a pianist who's now in London, but he's going to be working with these brother and sister pianists, and it's very funny because one of them is coming from the Conservatoire in Celaya, the other from a very famous individual teacher, and we got their names, and I said, these names look awfully alike, and then we found out they were brother and sister. So maybe maybe we've got some two piano concerts or one piano, four hands concerts in our future from this young duo. So that's what we're going to be doing, and we're just working hard to reach out and make connections like this connection we've made with you. We've made some wonderful connections with UNAM and the other music schools throughout the country, and we want people to recognize the festival as bringing the highest quality music and music education to San Miguel, but also to working to make San Miguel an international music destination where people really recognize it as a place to go for fine music.
Well, it's beautiful, the work you're doing, and you said it very beautifully. I mean, it's all about, building bridges, bringing people together, and you guys are doing a wonderful job. I really hope we can get to talk more about how we can collaborate. I know that you mentioned having worked with UNAM and Panamericana, but
Yes.
I'm sure that we can expand on different things, and so we'll keep the channels open. And anything you want to add? We still have a few minutes. Anything you want to add for?
No, just thank you very much. It's great to make this connection with you.
Yes, it was great. It was my pleasure, and I'm sure we'll be doing this again. And please come visit Chicago whenever you're around. And best of luck in DC. Stay safe.
Yes,
thank you very much. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.